I got revenge on my neighbor, and he still has no idea I even did anything to him. My neighbor from a couple of doors down and I had a long-running feud. It all started when his dog came into my backyard, and my dog attacked it. I was nearby, and able to call my dog off before it got serious. But the other dog had a couple of bite wounds. The neighbor wanted me to pay the vet bill. When he threatened me with a lawsuit, I offered to pay half, even though I owed him nothing. It was his dog that was off the leash and in my yard, after all. He declined the offer, took me to small claims court, and lost. The trial lasted all of 3 minutes when the judge found in my favor. That set into motion him starting to duck with me on a regular basis. My garbage cans would get knocked over every trash day. He would honk his horn and flip me off if he drove by my house. He tried to get my 10-year-old son arrested for riding another neighbor's mini bike, never called the cops on their kids, just mine. It was all stupid petty crap. But it was a lot of stupid petty crap, and we were growing frustrated and mildly concerned what he might do. We eventually grew tired of it, and filed a restraining order against him. We dropped the legal case against him when we received a letter from his lawyer stating that he would refrain from any sort of contact with any of my family for a period of 2 years. Things settled down at that point. But I was not yet satisfied. I had been staying on the high road through all of this, not responding to any of his bullshittery in any way. I had a desire to get revenge, but never acted on it. Then one day, I hatched my plan of evil genius. I was in the hardware store and I noticed some Japanese beetle traps. These traps are just a plastic bag with a scent pack. The beetles are drawn to the scent, fall in the bag, and can't get out. They also sold refill packages of the scent packs only, 4 per package. My neighbor has a very large rose garden in his front lawn. It is his pride and joy. Japanese beetles love roses. So I bought 4 packages of the refill packs. The scent pack is a waxy substance in a shallow plastic cup. I put the packs in the freezer overnight, to allow me to pull the wax out easily. The next morning, I woke up at 3 a.m. I popped the wax squares out of their cups, and put them in a baggie. Then I crept over to my neighbor's house and spread the wax squares in the mulch under his rose garden, covering them from view with a bit of the hardwood mulch. That day was a hot one. By 11 a.m. it was north of 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I figured the wax had probably melted into the dark mulch. Also, by 11 a.m., the Japanese beetles were starting to arrive at my neighbor's roses. I went on a bike ride later in the evening, and could see a small swarm of them attacking the roses. My neighbor had not yet noticed what was happening. By noon the next day, there was a freaking cloud of them. There had to be hundreds, if not thousands. My neighbor noticed. That afternoon, I could see him spraying them and spreading 7 powder and waving his arms in the air in frustration. By the 3rd day, there were thousands of the beetles, if not tens of thousands. They were everywhere in his front lawn and wreaking havoc on his roses. By the end 4th day, there was nothing left of his rose garden, other than a few tattered leaves and the thorny stalks. Those danged scent packs must have drawn every Japanese beetle in for miles around. I had never seen so many in a single place. And that was it. The deed was done, and I was satisfied and laughing quietly to myself. But laughing and laughing. And I never told a soul what I did, not even my wife. This was a few years ago, and his rose garden is fully recovered now. And it will stay beautiful so long as he keeps being a quiet neighbor. Now to the comments. That's the real number 1 way to not get caught doing something. Resist the urge to tell anyone you did it. Like us. Man, we're the internet. Who are we gonna tell? This sounds like what happened when I tried to grow a small row of 15 potato plants. Potato beetles from God knows where showing up. In the middle of Oklahoma. They ravaged the potatoes in 5 days and disappeared. OP replied. Been a gardener for 15 years, and those potato beetles are ruthless. They showed up in my garden 1 year, way before this feud, so it wasn't counter-revenge, and they stayed. After 2 failed seasons, I did some intensive research. I learned the best way to rid your garden of them is to simply not plant potatoes for a year. Except that I have 3 other neighbors that also plant potatoes, and we were all having the problem. I showed them what I had learned about not planting, and convinced them to hold off on potatoes for a season 2. And it worked. That was 6 years ago, and haven't had a problem since. Until your neighbor reads your post. I was disappointed to hear his roses are okay now. I'm a monster. No, this is better. Had he just let the roses die and never restarted his garden, it would have been terrible for him. But he could move on. Now, he has to put in that much more effort and be in constant fear of a repeat. The best thing to steal is peace of mind. You're lucky he didn't have security cameras. OP replied, yes. If you ever have to do this in the future, it would be best to approach his yard wearing a hoodie or something and enter from a side of the house not adjacent to yours. I mean, just in case he's wised up and has decided to place a hidden surveillance camera on the yard or something. My cat jumped into my neighbor's yard and got attacked by his German Shepherd. I took him to the vet. It was expensive, but he's fine now. Did I demand the neighbor pay the bill? Duck, no, that's stupid. My neighbor felt super bad and probably would have paid. But I didn't even consider it. I don't think it's great to have a dog who attacks smaller animals, but the dog was just being a dog, and my cat is the dumb one for jumping back there when I know he knows there's a dog. I guess I'm just not a ducking moron like your neighbor. My cat was killed by 2 unleashed dogs on the street. We asked the owners to pay for the bill and they did. Unleashed dogs in the street is different from dogs in their own yard. If your dog is in public and causes harm to something due to your negligence, then it makes sense that the dog owner should be liable. I killed an evil neighbor's rose bush with Drano, but this is pure inspired genius. Bravo. OP replied, yeah, I am a gardener here. I have a grudging respect for the guy's roses, and did not want to permanently destroy them. But also, this way he has to be extra cautious about the pests, and will be looking over his shoulder for Japanese beetles the rest of his life. So it's a bit of a gift that keeps on giving. You should chuck a dead Japanese beetle carapace at his front porch every 6 months or so, rob him of peace of mind. Similar situation, asshole neighbor, enlarged driveway that was encroaching into our property, contractor type, with crap all over the place. There was a tree on our side of the property line, and he would park his shiny new black F-150 under/ near the tree. He was a dick, an asshole, you name it. The solution: visit the bird store, ask the lady what causes the most amount of white bird shit possible. Answer: black sunflower seeds. Bird food store lady asked why I wanted this, and I explained. She was the most helpful ever, showed me the cheapest and largest feeder she had in the store. Hung a giant feeder up in the next to his truck tree. The birds loved it. Probably 10 white bird shit spots on the side of his brand new black truck every day. Every morning, he would be out there washing the side of his truck off. I even rigged a pulley system so wife, kid could easily refill on their own. Every few days I would be out there and some other couple would be walking down the street. One would say to the other, see, that is a nice husband, you should do that, get me a bird feeder and fill it up for me. I would stop and explain what I was doing and they would bust up laughing. After several large 50-pound bags of black sunflower seeds, he started parking his truck elsewhere. Shiny new black F-150, well, that was his first mistake. Shiny new black F-150 second mistake. I'd never suspect a neighbor would duck with me by unleashing nature upon me. That's brilliant. Maybe there is no such thing as karma, just a bunch of people getting revenge without you knowing and when you don't expect it. Years ago, when I was still a teenager, we had this neighbor caddy-cornered behind us who kept his backyard full of trash. County did nothing. So my dad got pissed and planted a bunch of bamboo back there. It started taking over the guy's yard. He fought it relentlessly. At last check, most of his backyard is currently overgrown bamboo, and we moved away in '04. One of our neighbors a couple of doors down doesn't like his next door neighbor, so he planted bamboo all along the border between his property and his neighbor's property. He said that he did it to block the view from his neighbor's place, but I have a feeling that it's going to cause a hell of a lot more problems between them. I really hope that shit doesn't spread to my place. It might. My dad put it in with the intention of it causing that guy a buttload of problems. I don't know squat about gardening, but you might want to look it up at some point and see if there's a way you could keep it from going onto your property. Better safe than sorry, I figure.